Alright, Travis Wayne Goodsell. It's the day after Valentines. And there's likely to be a lot of pregnancies, whether wanted or not consensualized. And so we're going to talk about pro-life versus pro-choice. Mormons, for the most part, as alt-right white supremacist Nazis, are pro-life. Those who are not really supportive of the church and want the church to change, why? Just leave. If the church has to change, it's not Jesus' church. It's that simple. But Mormons who are pro-life are anti-women. And I'm going to explain. The pro-life versus pro-choice has to do with pregnancy. Pro-life says that once a baby has been formed, that baby needs to be protected at all costs. All costs. That's where people don't understand is they want the baby protected, but not at all costs. What if the woman was raped? You're not pro-choice then, or not pro-life. Sorry. Because pro-life is embryo must be safe and secured so that it is born. Whereas pro-choice, which is completely wrong for the naming, it's the wrong argument to make, women, because what you want is for the woman's life to be preserved over the embryo. So it's not a choice thing. I got a sneeze coming up again. Can't stop the video. Did I suppress it? Maybe. Because the argument is, does the embryo have human status legally? And the whole argument is way off base. And so there are other options than just the two. Because those who say, well, in cases where a woman's raped, all of a sudden you said pro-life is wrong. And you're not supporting pro-choice. You're creating a third box. The whole brainwashing thing I've been talking about. This is what they've done with the Roe versus Wade argument, is to create a dichotomy. Just only two options, and you can't stray from either of those two options. And last year, we witnessed the first phase of the pro-life Republican attack to destroy the rights of women, as numerous states, including Utah, proposed laws into the court system by putting up lawsuits and passing laws even in the legislatures. It's coming, women. They're coming for you. They don't like you. Because, there's a guy in a wheelchair that always arrives at around 7:30 at this time, although it's Saturday. But I don't know where he goes. Somewhere in the neighborhood. So pro-life. If you're going to argue against pro-life, you can't argue pro-choice, because they don't accept it. Because what pro-lifers see with the pro-choice argument is that the woman made the wrong choice, and therefore the baby needs to be protected from the woman who made the wrong choice. That's how pro-lifers see it. That's why the name pro-choice is just way off base and is just feeding the frenzy of pro-lifers. You need to change it to pro-women. That will help you and get you farther than pro-choice. Because that's what the battle is really about. Does the life of the woman matter, or does the life of the baby matter? And when you take it into that realm, the courts have no option but to say, I'm sorry, the woman already has established her rights. The baby has not. And then when you take further consideration that once mankind hits puberty, do you know how many eggs a woman destroys and slaughters in a lifetime? Do you know how many more billion times sperm gets destroyed by a man in his lifetime? And pro-lifers will say, well, no, it's only one, they unite. But again, how did it unite? That's what pro-lifers don't want the answer made public about, is because they don't like women, and they're supporting of men getting their jollies off. And so if a woman's raped, who cares about the woman? If the guy wants the baby, he's going to get it, regardless of the woman's choice. That's the pro-lifer stance, the pure pro-lifer. And so if you come up with alternatives between the dichotomy, you're now creating a spectrum, which is also part of the trap. But that's what Roe versus Wade was a spectrum compromise between the two options. And so this movement to push and force pro-life agenda on the whole nation is to punish women for making the wrong choice, for not putting out, for luring the man by the way they dressed or whatever other poor excuse. But this is the alt-right, white supremacist, Nazi Mormon view of pro-lifers. They don't like women. And so Mormon women, you need to understand this. If you're claiming pro-life, you are proclaiming in their ballpark. This was the same situation with blacks in the Mormon church. The Mormon church hates blacks. And I already did the video about how the lifting of the priesthood ban on blacks back in 1978 was due to a quid pro quo to allow the church to eventually practice polygamy again. And so all of those apologists, and there's one particular one who's doing quite well among the Mormon population, among the young Mormon population, who's black and Mormon. And he's clueless. He is getting played by the church like a fiddle. And Mia Love. Remember Mia Love? She was my representative. When Trump trashed her native lands, her ancestral lands, I immediately contacted her. Don't let him do that to you. Stand up to him. And she didn't. And then she lost to a Democrat, who's not quite a Democrat, because he's anti-homeless people. He's the one that came up with the solution for the Rio Grande fiasco, where the downtown shelter was shut down that had 1,100 beds, and it was still not enough, which is why it became a problem, is because the homeless numbers overwhelmed the one shelter. And so his solution was 3 shelters. Oh, 3 is more than 1. The total number of beds for the 3 shelters is 700. 400 less than the one shelter that was shut down that was still not enough. So it's all just a con game that's going on. But Mia Love lost. Trump then said, she wasn't giving me love. And then Mia Love all of a sudden became woke. Too late. You got played as a chump. You ran as a Republican, and they ate you alive. They don't care about blacks, and they don't care about women, and you were both. And yet you still played their game. You were supposed to just bend over and take it, metaphorically speaking. And now you're gone. Your career, your life is over. So, I hope I've explained the difference between pro-life and pro-choice. It's a brainwashing trap. You're supposed to think outside of all boxes, not create new boxes to try to compromise. That's what was it Covey, who did the 7 Habits, talking about the win-win. That's what he was referring to. But people are now twisting his win-win, saying that a compromise with an alternative box is the win-win. And he says very clearly, if you have to compromise, you lose. Someone loses. In order for a win-win, you need a completely new, outside of the whole box situation, thought process. One where both parties can get what they want. But he fails in that when somebody refuses to allow a win-win, there can never be a win-win. So, yeah. So, to sum up, pro-choicers, drop the name. Make it pro-women. And pro-lifers, my God, go away.